Okay, hopefully back. Hopefully not looping anymore. Unfortunately, not going to be able to have Matt on live this time because I'm having some real issues with my sound controls. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to report. I can get some light on at least. There we go. So I will have Matt on a future episode, or I might just do an unboxing separately, but once I've resolved those issues. So in the meantime, like I say, hopefully we're not looping anymore. If someone can give me a shout and let me know, that would be absolutely brilliant. So the other things we were going to be looking at in this week's episode, I'm going to do a review of Trials and Tribulations. No loop this time. That's something, at least, I'm glad to hear. Okay. Far from perfect, Ed. Thank you for saying that, though. If it were perfect, we wouldn't be having these issues in the first place. But at least you can hear me. Okay. So we can get on with the rest of the episode. But we do have that special unboxing to come at a future time. So we're going to do a review of Trials and Tribulations, the Deep Space Nine episode, which was in fact suggested by Matt. So you're still involved in the episode in a really big way, at least. And we're going to be discussing novels, with it having been World Book Day Thursday just gone. I'm going to be sharing with you my favourite Star Trek book, and also a little bit about the one that I'm reading at the moment. But I want to hear from all of you in the Twitch chat. What is your favourite Star Trek novel? If you've never read any, why have you not read them? I want to hear about that as well. What's your least favourite? We're going to be going into a bit of a discussion about whether or not novels are canon. So that'll be quite interesting, I think. And of course, I will be giving you the latest breaking news. Never read one. That's fine. You don't have to. So it's not like a confession there, Matt. Hi, Paul. Yeah, welcome back. Glad it's all working now. Unfortunately, no, Matt. The motion picture. Okay, so the novelisation of the films, I think we can definitely say that they were canon. But we will come on to novels in a moment, because I want to talk to you about Trials and Tribulations, which is the Season 5, Episode 6 of Deep Space Nine. It was the 102nd episode to be released of Deep Space Nine as well. So, in Trials and Tribulations, the crew of the Defiant under Captain Sisko are thrown back in time via the Time Orb. They are thrown back to the 23rd century, and just in the vicinity of K7, Deep Space Station K7, and the Enterprise, the original Enterprise under Captain Kirk. And 25 years old indeed. He catches up with you so quickly. So of course they're faced now. An interesting little sidebar about K7. For those of you who watch Star Trek Bridge Crew on Thursday nights with myself and others, Station K7 is the starting point for the Kobayashi Maru game. So there you go. Bit of a connection in there. But yes, they are thrown back, and it is revealed that Arn Darvin, the Klingon from the original episode, The Trouble with Tribbles, but as a much older man, has come back to sabotage things and to kill Kirk via means of a bomb placed inside a Tribble. So the crew of the Defiant have to blend themselves in, which is why we've swapped out gold for red today, or red for gold rather, get it right, because they are donning their original series uniforms, and they have to infiltrate both the Enterprise and the station. They did pick him up in Cardassian space under an assumed name, that name being Barry Waddle, which was kind of call me Barry. Absolutely fantastic. And Arne Darwin, of course, played in both the original series and Deep Space Nine by the same actor. What was it? Charlie Brill. Absolutely fantastic actor playing in both. Now this episode was broadcast or planned originally to be broadcast to coincide with the 30th anniversary of Trek. So you think in another 5 years that will have been the halfway point for us. In another 5 years Trek will have been going for 60 years. And this episode was to coincide with the 30th anniversary. It was very, very nice getting the same actors back. Yes, Core, John Kalikas, absolutely. Yes, so the actual week that it was released, however, would have coincided with episode 1 of season 5, but the producers thought it would be better to keep the chronology of the series, so that's why it was episode 5. So it was released a little bit after the actual anniversary, but nevertheless this was the 30th anniversary episode. It was quite unique in that it included original footage from the original series episode Trouble with Tribbles, except for one sequence which it included from a different episode. Now this is right near the end of the episode Trials and Tribulations, when Sisko is talking to Kirk, and he says that, I've been on temporary assignment and I just wanted to say it's been an honour serving with you. It's a really nice moment. That original footage was actually taken from the episode Mirror Mirror. So there you go. It features Tribbles very, very heavily, of course. Now, the Trouble with Tribbles was the first time we as an audience get to encounter Tribbles, but they have appeared in not only the original series but also the animated series. They have been seen in 4 different films: The Search for Spock, Generations, the J.J. Abrams reboot, 2009 reboot, and also they were in Into Darkness. They have obviously been seen in Deep Space Nine, as we have seen. We have also seen them in Star Trek Enterprise, as well as Discovery, and 2 of the short treks as well, sort of spin-offs from Discovery. In fact, one of the short treks shows us kind of the origin of why the Tribbles breed so prolifically. And if you haven't seen that one, The Trouble with Edward, it is absolutely hilarious, and a fantastic short trek. It features the guy who does the voice for Archer, the TV series. I mean, he does a lot of other things as well, but yeah, he is absolutely brilliant in that. By the end of the 5th season of Deep Space Nine, Trials and Tribulations remained the single most expensive Trek episode ever to have been released. H. John Benjamin, yes, that's him, H. John Benjamin. I couldn't quite remember his name off the top of my head, but yes, he's really, really good in The Trouble with Edward. So there we go. Yeah, he does so many different wonderful things, and I love Archer, so that was really nice seeing him in that. So there we go. Trials and Tribulations. I know Ed was planning to watch it early. Did anyone else watch it in ahead of this particular episode. And I mean, for me, it's stand out one of the finest Star Trek episodes that there's ever been, which is quite, for me, I really enjoy the darker episodes, I've got to say, but yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. I would hope that you enjoy it, Matt, because you're the one who suggested it. So there we go. But yeah, it is a standout episode, and brilliantly and lovingly done as well. And it's really nice to see Terry Farrell's character Jadzia Dax, the way she enthuses over it. That was deliberately written in to reflect fandom's sort of enthusiasm for the original series as well. So that was really nice. So there we go. Now I'll be doing another review next week, but before you jump straight onto your keyboards to suggest what you would like me to review, I'm going to put a specific criteria. Yes, that line there's so many quotables in it. But yes, the line from Bishop, "I'm a doctor, not a historian." I mean, so Bones. Absolutely. Yes, and Emily Dax, absolutely. So yeah, it's just a wonderful episode. But the one for next week, I'm going to limit specifically what I want is a Voyager episode. What Voyager episode would you like me to review? Now, there's a particular reason why I'm specifying Voyager, which we will come to later in the show. But do take to your keyboards and start suggesting Voyager episodes for me to review for next week. You can, of course, always jump on the Discord as well. Link is below in the Twitch. And join the Discord community and put your suggestions in there. If we get even numbers of different episodes suggested, I'll just pick one that I think reflects the episode most. But you can always second other suggestions as well, and the one with basically the most votes. We're a bit of a democracy here. Only a bit, though. But yeah, so I will look forward to reviewing a Voyager episode next week. So novels, yes. Now, Ed, I think you said you've only read the novelizations of the films, which obviously those themselves are living witness. Okay, we've got a suggestion in straight away. I'm going to make a note of that. Living Witness is a fantastic episode, one of my favourites. Yeah, Living Witness, of course, when the Doctor is revived many years later, and they've got it all wrong about Voyager being a ship of war and having an evil captain. Well, maybe that part's right. We shall see. But yeah, so novels. So we've had a suggestion about the motion picture, the dramatizations. Now they're really good and interesting because they can go a bit more deep dive into what the characters themselves are going through emotionally, what their thoughts are on things. You get a bit more usually with the background behind events and characters as well. So yeah, the motion picture novelizations and dramatizations are really good for that. I'm going to give a personal recommendation now. So many years ago, I think the first Star Trek novel I ever read was Kobayashi Maru, and it was essentially you've got Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in a shuttle, stranded. And yeah, so they start talking about their ways that they dealt with the Kobayashi Maru, and it was before we found out kind of that he cheated basically, and we find out a lot more detail, and that's really nice. Yes, Cat. So you read one, but you've no clue what it's called. Set after Generations. Kirk is dug up and cloned. Oh, I don't know which one that is. I'm not familiar with that one myself. But yeah, so Kirk being cloned, that's an interesting... Oh, was that the one perhaps written by William Shatner. After he did Generations, he did write one where Kirk came back. I haven't read it myself, but I wonder if that's the one that it could have been that Shatner wrote himself. There has been known to write a few of the novels. You do need to watch Deep Space Nine again, Paul. Yeah, that sounds like the one I'm thinking. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I can't. So yeah, so other ones that I've read over the years, there is one. Do you know what? I was given the name of it this week by a friend of mine, Craig, who I went to school with, and he's a massive Trekkie, probably a bigger Trekkie than I am, which is saying something. Aliens that invade from another galaxy. Okay, that's one that I'm not familiar with. But yeah, there's one. I think it's called Vengeance, if I'm correct, about the planet killer and the origin of the planet killer and how it was actually designed as an anti-Borg weapon, which is quite interesting. And going back into other events from the sort of the original crew, the Kirk and them, I also recently reread Probe, about the cetacean probe, and it follows on from the voyage home, where they re-encounter it, and we get a bit more history. Again, there's Borg connection in that as well, but it tells you some more and explores more about the history of it. The one that I'm going to absolutely recommend, it's perhaps a bit of a slightly less usual. I'm going to recommend a graphic novel collection. So this is from IDW, who do a lot of the Star Trek these days, comic books. Star Trek versus Transformers. This is so much fun. So what I've got here is the collected comic book, so it's the whole series in one binder. It was released not that long ago. Phenomenal little story. I mean, a lot of it is fun, and you have to sort of not delve into it too intellectually, because you've got Scotty suddenly comes down and builds a load of robots to be driven by the humans, and it just happens, like between basically two squares. But it's a lot of fun. Oh, The Future's End. Nice choice right there. Oh, hang on, Future's End. I know there was a book, Future's End, wasn't there? Or are you suggesting Future's End for next week? Future's End. Okay. I'll make a note of that. Fantastic, thank you, Matt. Yeah, so I mean, if like me you loved Transformers as a kid, this is an absolute romp. And one of the real things right, I've made a note. Thank you, Matt. So one of the things that I really loved about this is they used the style of drawing from both the Transformers animated series that we all presumably watched as kids, and also the style from the animated series. In fact, it features Mires in it. So you've got the Star Trek animated series as well. But it's a really good fun run. Do you know? I'm not going to talk too much about the actual plot itself, because spoilers. But this is really well worth getting hold of. Yeah, you get. It's just really interesting. Yeah, I don't want to say too much more about it for spoilers. But the novel that I'm currently reading at the moment, and you can probably see from my bookmark, I haven't got too much more left to go on it, is this Q Squared, the Star Trek: The Next Generation book by Peter David, who's written quite a few novels for Trek. Now, as you would imagine from the title, it is a Q heavy novel, And you might also notice this character, if I bring him up to... Oh no, it's doing the thing. But you might recognise the Squire of Gothos himself, Trelane, General Trelane retired. So this novel, it introduces Trelane as a member of the Q Continuum, as many fans have theorised over the years. And it plays really nice sort of homage to that, and also goes back, and you get Charlie Evans as well. So from the episode Charlie X, where he gets superpowers. Now, am I thinking Charlie X, or am I thinking Where No Man Has Gone Before? But the original series episode where he gets superpowers, and that's also connected with the Q Continuum. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but you get alternate timelines in there as well. We get one where Picard didn't allow Crusher to die. So you actually get a Captain Crusher of the Enterprise with his first officer, Jean-Luc Picard. So that's quite a nice one. But I'm going to read. So the back of the book gives you a nice bit of dialogue from within the book itself as a bit of a teaser, which I'm going to read to you now. Q, I want to talk to you alone. Q smiled briefly at his companion, the entity called Trelane, and then gestured grandly in the direction of the captain's ready room. Picard strode briskly through the door. Q was right behind him. But the moment the door hissed shut, Q grabbed Picard by his uniform front. His usual smug facade had evaporated to be replaced by desperation. "Picard," he said, low and intense, "you've got to help me." "What?" was all Picard could get out. With what? With who?" "With Trelane. He's driving me nuts. I can't take it any more." And Picard did something then that he had never done before. He laughed in Q's face. I mean, it's just, it's a really, really fun novel. Now, this was written whilst the Next Generation was still taking place, so it precedes the end of the Next Generation and the subsequent exploration that we've had of Q, particularly notable in Voyager when we actually visit the Q Continuum itself a couple of times. So it doesn't have those things to draw on, and it's had to change. Well, it's created its own backstory, which does fly in the face of established canon later on with the series, which actually gives me rise to one of the things I wanted to discuss with you all, which is whether or not Star Trek novels are canon. Now, I would say the novels that were mentioned earlier by Ed, the motion picture novelizations, I mean, of course, they're going to be canon because they reflect what's happened on screen. But where we're getting backstories that veer away from the screen, is it the case that only what we see on screen is canon? But allowing for that in of itself, the screen contradicts itself on what is canon on more than one occasion. So, anything starting with Paramount logo should be canon. Oh, that's an interesting... so I'm going to check the novel now. Well, yes, it's stamped with the Paramount logo right there on the bottom. So it does fly in the face. Like I say, it does contradict canon that we've seen on screen. So is that an okay thing to do then, to have contradictory forms of canon? When it comes to canon, my usual answer is it is up to the individual. So, where you get people talking about Discovery, for example, but that contradicts this previous canon. I mean, if one thing Star Trek's been very good at over the years, it's contradicting itself canonically. But people get very upset and Discovery is not real Star Trek, which I'll be I'll try not to go down a rant again like I have done on previous episodes. But yeah, so I would say, if as an individual you simply don't want a particular thing to be canon, then for you it isn't. If another person does want it to be canon, then for them it is. And I think perhaps it's not even down to Paramount or property owners themselves to decide what is canon, just to put the material out. Try not to contradict existing canon as much as you can, but ultimately it is the individual's choice. That's my take on it, but what do you think? Canon is only as good as the narrator. Oh, so it's how it's delivered that makes it canon or not? Is that what you're saying there, Matt? That's an interesting take. But yeah, no. And let's get on the Discord after this and thrash out what we think about canon. I'd love to hear. Okay, so moving on then to the latest Star Trek news. I'm going to start with so there are things that I've just had, or an unreliable narrator, or yes, but then as the series evolves, Matt, you do get. I think I know what you mean, but yeah, I think contradictions are ultimately going to happen. So if you take the original series, as the original series was happening, we didn't get to hear what century it was set in. They never explicitly mentioned it during the original series, and that was very deliberate on the part of Roddenberry, because he wanted people to basically form their own opinion. Was it 100 years away? Was it like 1,000 years away? What fitted in the audience's own individual minds as being the most realistic for this evolution of man to where they had become. So he totally and utterly avoided any mention of, and it's one of the reasons they use star dates, was to avoid mentioning what year it was set. The closest they come, in fact, is in the Square of Gothos, which ties in nicely with the novel I've mentioned, where he talks about it being 900 light years away from Earth, Gothos, when they encounter it, and where Trelane, he talks about things happening in the 19th century, so the early 19th century. He mentions Napoleon, so from the 1830s, I think. I know we have actual people who study history who watch this, so I'm hesitant to go down this route because I don't know much. So I might be wrong. I'll happily bow to anybody else's greater knowledge. But I believe it's the early part of the 19th century that he refers to. Now, if it's 900 light years away, and there is reference to him seeing things happening on Earth and kind of getting it wrong, that would suggest that actually it was the 2700s that the original series was set. That's the closest they come, is being able to work that out. But of course now we know it's the 23rd century, the 2200s, not the 2700s. So canonically, we've got a disparity right there. But does it really matter? As long as we enjoy it. Yes, so on with news. There are some things I've not heard any news about. For example, the Section 31 seems to have gone dark. I'm starting to wonder if we're going to get the Section 31 series, to be honest. The fact that they've been driving forward with Strange New Worlds at the same time, both things kind of came out around the same time. But Section 31 just seems to have gone dark, where Strange New Worlds hasn't. I mean, that said, I've got no news for you about Strange New Worlds this week, I'm afraid. But it hasn't gone dark, at least. That's the thing. So Discovery and Picard, I don't really have any specific news except that because we're going now into award season, both Discovery and Picard have been nominated for a vast number of awards. I think there's 8 different nominations from the Guild for visual effects, makeup, costumes, that sort of thing. Very, very well earned nominations. And looking at some of the things that they're up against, things like Doctor Who, I'd be surprised if we're not, if Star Trek isn't taking home quite a few of those. That would be very, very nice to see. And they've both been awarded. Awarded. I'm jumping the gun a little bit there. But wishful thinking, perhaps. But they've both been nominated for 7 Saturn Awards. Now, the Saturn Awards are specifically in sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. So it's quite a broad genre that the Saturn Awards are in. So picking up 7 nominations across the 2 series is a phenomenal achievement. So good luck to them on that, and obviously I'll be updating you as and when we hear more and more from the awards. Lower Decks, I have a little bit of not so much about Series 2 coming out, but regarding Series 1, they have announced that the Blu-ray and DVD release is coming on the 18th of May. Now this is in America. I don't know about the UK as yet. But they have mentioned that there will be a steelbook version with almost 2 hours of special features. This is going to include extended scenes. There's going to be trailers in there. In particular, I noticed they mentioned a trailer for Invictus, the kind of cinematic episode from season 1. So that should be a lot of fun to watch. 2 hours of special features is quite a lot, so especially for an animated series, because you haven't got bloopers, you don't have much in the way of deleted scenes. They have mentioned some extended scenes, some stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor, which is quite rare for animated series, because you know exactly how long your episode is going to be, and you can write it and edit, and prepare it exactly for what it's going to be. You've got less to do in the editing suite, as it were, unlike sort of live filming, when you don't necessarily know how you're going to put it together editing wise. So that again, I don't know if the steelbook will be a UK version, but we can hope at least, but hopefully it won't be too far behind the US. We shall have to wait and see. I've got some news regarding Prodigy, just a little bit here. So last week, of course, we looked at the photo of the crew, and a lot of fans have been asking, well, we know Janeway is going to be in it, why wasn't she in the picture? So in a very, very recent interview that came out a couple of days ago, the creators have explained, and they've addressed this particular point. They've said we will see what Janeway is going to look like some point down the road, but they particularly didn't want to put it in that particular picture because they knew that that's the only thing that the fans would talk about, would be Janeway, and they didn't want to sort of shift the focus away from the actual crew themselves. They've also said that they'll be dropping the names of the crew members that we've seen the photo of in due course, is all they've said. But there we go. But it does sound, from the way they're talking about Janeway, that Janeway will be a cast regular in Prodigy, so that'll be something to look for. Keeping on the theme of Janeway, Robert Duncan McNeil, who of course played Tom Paris in Voyager, and of course he was in Next Generation as well, but played the same character who's not the same character. He he has started lobbying Paramount for a Captain Proton TV series. Now, this comes from the back of a tweet that Kate Mulgrew did. There's been a lot of these going around saying, if you were the end of game boss, like, share a photo of yourself from an existing photo of yourself as the end of game boss. And she used one as Arachnia from the Captain Proton holodeck series. Which got huge, like tens of thousands of likes almost immediately. Well, this has prompted Robert Duncan McNeil to start lobbying Paramount for a Captain Proton TV series. I honestly don't think it'll happen, but it's quite a fun thing to think about and to imagine. But if you want to follow that on Twitter and even get involved, then hashtag Captain Proton Series is the way to do that. The other thing as well with Voyager, the company 455, who did the documentary What We Left Behind about Deep Space Nine, have started crowdfunding for a Voyager documentary now. If no to Captain Worf, then definitely not Captain Proton. Yes. Although, well, Worf was an ambassador the last we saw him. So Captain Worf would require a bit of sort of shifting around of the timeline, and also where is Worf's journey left? Where is there left to go with his journey? I wonder on that. So, there's not much unexplored with him. With Worf, Captain Proton would be, I think, a silly and fun series, but like I said, I don't think it'll happen anyway. If it did, maybe a few sort of 5-minute animated episodes would be fun. In the vein of Short Trek, the Short Treks from Discovery. Maybe some just quick 5-minute animated episodes with Captain Proton. That might be a nice fun little thing to see, but that's just an idea. But yes, the Voyager documentary has started their crowdfunding. They're expecting to be able to launch it around autumn 2022, so next year, later on next year. And if you want to get involved in the crowdfunding, get your name on those credits with it, or just follow what's happening yourself, then you can go to voyagerdocumentary.com. But I'll be giving you updates as and when I get them regarding that. Now, the other big reveal, I know last week we were talking about the movies, and I made a big point of saying I think that the movies are dead in the water. I don't think we're going to see anything happening for a long time to come. Well, it just goes to show that a week might be a long time in politics, but it's even longer in Twitch streams like this, because just a couple of days ago we had a massive reveal about the hiring of Kalinda Vasquez to write an original Star Trek movie for Bad Robot. Now, Bad Robot are the production company, of course, behind the JJ-verse reboots. Now, Kalinda is known as a co-executive producer for Fear the Walking Dead, but she does have some experience with Star Trek, having written episodes for Discovery and short treks as well. She wrote Terra Firma Part 2, and she wrote the short trek Ask Not, featuring Captain Pike and Anson Mount, of course. Now, looking at those two episodes alone, and of course Fear the Walking Dead, her involvement in that, I'm wondering if this might mean we could see a darker movie on the horizon that she would be penning. But time will tell. Lot of effort. Get more return. Yes, they do get more return for TV shows, stream TV shows. I agree entirely. but maybe we've got it all wrong, and there is a market for a movie after all. Section 31 movie. Yes, that would be nice. I'd like it. I'd want to see it. But bear with me. Just had a slight technical issue with my Zoom. There we go. Hopefully that should resolve it. There we go. Oh, I need to adjust. Sorry about this, folks. Zoom's just decided to go all weird. It's the day for technical issues today. I don't know why, but there we go. Anyway, right, so back in the room. Section 31. I'd like it. Yes, fun. That's not the word. But yeah, definitely something weird happening. Also, because I've got Zoom professionally, so I pay for it, so it shouldn't be booting me out after 40 minutes. Need to have a word with the good folks at Zoom about that. But yes, Section 31 movie. Coming back on that, I would like to see that. I think that would be a great thing to happen, but I don't think fandom will be that supportive of it ultimately. Section 31 is a bit of a funny thing. It was introduced, of course, during Deep Space Nine, and there's been an awful lot of retconning already about Section 31. Now it turns out that characters from the original series would have known all about it, that it wasn't that hidden. So I love the concept of Section 31, but yeah, I don't see it as a movie. A mirror universe movie. Oh, Matt, yeah, you're definitely speaking my language with that one. Yes, that would be absolutely brilliant as well. But yeah, we will have to see. Looking forward to me directing the next Star Trek movie. I do direct, and I write, and I'm a filmmaker. But first and foremost, above anything else, I'm an actor. Do you not think I'd want to be in it? Not behind the camera. Absolutely. I mean, I keep wearing the uniforms, They might get the hint eventually. We will see. but I mean, actually, it's funny you should say that. So I mentioned earlier in the show my old friend Craig. He's been watching these, I think, sort of on catch up later on because he can't make the streams at the time themselves. He suggested that he and I start working on design just for, as he puts it, shits and giggles, formulating a Star Trek movie plot of our own, and we've been having a lot of fun. He's the wealth of information and ideas and creativity on that. He's really putting in some interesting things. We've been having some interesting discussions about Gary 7 and how you would fit Gary 7 into a movie in the reboot JJ-verse. So that would be a lot of fun to do. But yeah, there we go. So that's the news. Latest news updates. So I'm so sorry we didn't get around to the unboxing, Matt, but we will definitely work something out in the future. I just need to sort out my my sound issues with OBS. It's okay. Interesting, Paul. Yeah, it's just not meant to be. An RPG, yeah, Cyberpunk. Yeah. Well, we might be talking about Cyberpunk RPGs fairly soon. But absolutely, it is starting. Well, Absolutely, yes. Well, the interview you did with Foxy was absolutely brilliant. Feel free to stick links for people to follow your work anywhere and everywhere, all throughout the Discord and on the Twitch. But yes, so that's come to the end of this week's show. Now, I said specifically earlier on that I wanted you to give me Voyager episodes to watch for next week to review, because as well as the usual stuff, we're going to have more updates, more news. The big thing that we're going to be talking about next week is Captain Janeway herself. And I want to be asking the Janeway question: is she a good captain? Cathexis. Right, writing that one down. That's in the list. Cathexis. Fantastic. So I've not been shy in my opinion of Catherine Janeway. I don't think she's a very good captain at all. I think she's a cold-blooded murderer. Tuvix, that's all I can say. Yeah, there we go. But I will, fingers crossed, if I can sort these sound issues out, I will be having a very special guest, someone I know who is a big Janeway fan. So she will be on to explain to me why Captain Janeway is a good captain after all, and I should be doffing my cap to her. So look forward to that debate. In the meantime, keep looking after yourselves, do jump in the Discord. Keep firing those suggestions for a good Voyager episode for me to review. My temptation would be Tuvix for that reason, but I'm sure you can all come up with much better suggestions for me. Well, you already have. Living Witness, I think, is a great one. Futures End, Cathexis, yeah. They are fantastic suggestions. So if you want to support one of those, you can do so in the Discord. Or if you want to suggest something else, do go for it. In the meantime, don't forget to join us on Wednesday at 9:30 GMT with the rest of the crew for our continuing Star Trek Adventures roleplay through of Modiphius' game. There'll be Ed and Matt and Usher and Amy on the bridge, and hopefully we'll be able to hear everyone and not have weird looping issues. Please. But I will have it sorted out for then. And of course on Thursday at 9:30 GMT, you can join us for Bridge Crew, playing on the VR, the Ubisoft game. And then of course we're back round to Sunday next week. I'll probably try and work something out for an unboxing with Matt. I might even do it as a standalone special. That would be Prime Factors. Is that instead of Cathexis then? Okay, I'll take Cathexis off the table and add Prime Factors. Good suggestions there. Okay, fantastic. So in the meantime, keep looking after each other, live long and prosper, and keep on trekking. Alright, bye for now. Bye.